Hey guys, welcome to the We Need to Calm Down podcast. I'm Devon.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the show where we talk about all things Taylor Swift.
That's right. This is a show where two friends finally get to let their dedication to our Lord and Savior, Taylor Swift, fly.
We'll be discussing everything from song breakdowns, Taylor news, and our insane fan theories.
Gosh, I feel like we keep saying that, but we're just stuck on folklore. And we still have so much.
Everything from song breakdowns to we do theories.
I guess these are theories, yeah.
Not a lot of Taylor news lately. But...
explanations and stuff. Well, yeah, that's the weird thing. She dropped this album, and I've been noticing this on the Instagram. She dropped this album and then just kind of went silent. A lot of people have been like, hey, Taylor, don't you know you dropped an album? Why are you not talking at all?
She went to the lakes.
Yep. I think that's a good theory right there.
Yeah.
But I think you had an idea for a better banter.
I did. So instead of talking about some random thing, I figured we would tie it into Taylor and do just a check-in, a mental check-in between the two of us, because we're both going through some stuff right now.
That's a dangerous task.
So if you were to take one Taylor Swift lyric from her entire discography to sum up your mood and how you've been feeling lately, what would it be and why?
Good Lord. It's so funny because if you had asked me, you would have gotten completely different answers if we had recorded this episode in the morning versus the night. Oh my God. I like this one a lot. I think this should be a random banter we do every once in a while.
Just a check-in.
Just a check-in. I was going to go off record and do a Kelsey Ballerini lyric, but we're doing Taylor. I'm trying to think of what my lyric would be if I did get asked this morning. My lyric right now, I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to say it and leave it, is so much for summer love and saying us.
Rough.
Yeah, it's great. It's real great. Feeling great. It's awesome. Life is great. Living it to the best of my ability. Too bad it's not that great.
Joe.
This is gonna be a fun episode, guys. It's gonna be great.
We're both going through great. It's great.
It's great. Sorry. We're both going through
some weird stuff right now. I think we're vice versa. So my lyric would be, I'd go back in time to change it, but I can't. So if the chain is on your door, I understand.
Ooh, okay. I'm glad you didn't go with, I've been having a hard time adjusting.
As another one of my favorite lyrics. That would have been probably towards beginning COVID, but right now, I think what perfectly sums up my life.
Going back to Speak Now. All the way back to Speak Now.
Back to December is a song that has been, what is it? I was re-listening to the songs. I've been re-listening to the Songs We Cried To episode, and Back to December is just making me cry again. It's just so relatable at the moment. But yeah, that particular line from the song, very relatable. I've
been trying to go back to her old discography a little bit, and when you proposed this to me, I was like, oh well, let me see. When you first proposed it, I was like, oh, we're just doing folklore. And I was like, I think actually my initial, what you would have asked me, what I would have said this morning was probably, and the rain is always going to come if you're standing with me, from Peace, because that line has just stuck out to me. I don't know if it perfectly describes what I'm going through or what I was going through this morning before the new line came up, but it just feels so nice, and I really like what it says. But yeah, I've been going through and listening to I went through and listened to all of Speak Now again today. Speak Now is just I'm sorry, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of tangent, but it's so weird because there is not after Red, I never revisit those albums unless they're on shuffle.
Really?
Speak Now and Red, and sometimes Fearless, I revisit all the time. I go back and specifically will listen to just that album, but I will never go back and go, let me listen to 1989. I never do that.
I won't listen to the whole album, but I'll definitely pick songs here and there to revisit.
It's only ever on shuffle for me. I think that's really interesting.
Interesting.
Or at least to me. Okay. Anyway, what are we talking about today on this typical Tuesday night?
So today we will be discussing the third and potentially final chapter of Folklore, which is the Saltbox House chapter that she released the midnight of August 27th.
out of left frickin' field.
Well, not really out of left frickin' field. The title, yes.
The title and the chapter itself, out of left field. Everything else, like obviously the release was very
it's a pattern.
Theme. Yeah. But it's just so funny when we look back at like the first episode we did on escapism and like tried to like come up with these lofty ideas of what the other giant words and big theories and concepts that they could be, and then she just like slaps us in the face with a house.
Saltbox house for you salty people.
It's just so weird, like it trying to find how these songs relate to a saltbox house.
Like, what is a saltbox house?
Yeah,
what does it mean?
What does it mean to her? Like, it's so weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, definitely.
So be prepared for some stretchy
theories.
There it is. Yep.
Stretchy theories.
You can tell my mind's all here.
Yes. All right. So let's go over what was actually released. So again, we're keeping with the 6-song pattern. So she released 6 songs in the following order. It was The Last Great American Dynasty, August, The One, 7, which was previously on the Escapism chapter, Peace, and Betty. So as of now, 7 and Exile are the only 2 songs that have been mentioned in 2 different playlists.
That's so, like, 7 is just so weird to me. It's such an odd inclusion.
Yeah, so we'll go over that. But Joe, I know you did this research. What is a saltbox house?
Oh gosh, it's so weird. All right, so I looked up a saltbox house, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I found a lot on Wikipedia. Didn't feel the need to go any further. A saltbox house is specifically a house originating in the New England area of the United States, kind of like Rhode Island. And it's specifically, it's a house built with a long pitched roof that slopes down the back and is generally a wooden frame house. Looking at it and reading about it, it's basically the mullet of houses, like Party in the front, or the other one, 2 stories in the front, 1 in the back. Like it kind of like slopes down to be a 1-story house. And then it has a chimney like dead center of the house, which I think is interesting and definitely a choice.
Yeah. Well, if anything, that's a backwards mullet, because it would be Party in the back is the 2, because it's longer.
Well, no,
actually no, I guess because
like it looks like it like slopes down.
I guess.
And I guess that would be like where I'd imagine the mullet, like that metaphor really takes place. One thing that Wikipedia specifically said, which I thought was really funny, is verbatim. It says folklore holds that the saltbox form was popularized by Queen Anne's taxation of houses greater than 1 story. So they would build it so it would have 1 story, and it would somehow get under the legislation that like would make it untaxed by these weird rules, which I think is interesting. And the roof that like curves down that we were talking about is known as a cat slide roof. Come on, Taylor. Too obvious.
I'm actually going to hop back up to when you were talking about, 2 stories in the front, 1 in the back.
Yeah.
I was reading on the Reddit thread about this. It was from Halikala Sunrise, I want to say, on Reddit. And she says there's 3 stories. Taylor always says there's 3 sides to a story, yours, mine, and the truth. So if you're thinking about the 2 stories plus the 1, that's 3. The theme could be potentially like an unreliable narrator. Like there's 3 sides to a story. So you have Taylor's side, you have the other person's side, and then you have this unbeknownst, like the truth or an unreliable narrator. So we can get into that in a little bit, but that's just my theory.
I hate that because I didn't read that I didn't get that until you described it, and that kicks the crap out of the theories that I came up with.
We're going to present a couple different theories just to cover our bases.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, Devon, we're going to discuss some of like how each song relates to the concept of Saltbox House. So this is like a header that we've done for the last 2, and it was a lot easier for the last 2 because we could easily just say, all right, well, how does this relate to Sleepless Nights, or how does this relate to escapism? It's a lot harder to say, how does this relate to an architectural style of a house?
Yes.
So in the research that I did, just starting off, this chapter feels like a mishmash of like quote unquote leftovers that just didn't quite fit with the other themes. Like it's these songs, it's going through and first at first blush looking at them, trying to figure out like a weave or again just to tie the knot, an invisible string that puts them all together. uh it's very difficult at first glance, and I don't even know if at third glance it got any easier. But though I will say, oddly, these are a majority of the upbeat, positive songs, except for 7, which I suppose like Saltbox Houses are super happy and upbeat. Maybe, who knows? One thing I will say, that to start this, when I noticed while researching Saltbox houses, something I found really odd. The houses were typically constructed using woodworking joints, pegs, trusses, braces, etc. Because they were expensive, nails were very, very rarely used. So they aren't nailed down or hammered in. They are much easier to remove by hand, or so I think. I'm not a carpenter. And funny story, I wanted to do my due diligence, and I texted my friend who's a carpenter and asked him about this. And he said the glue that holds a woodworking joint together is stronger than a nail and the wood. So I'm going to go off the assumption they didn't have that glue back then. It hadn't been invented. They just made it fit really snug. So going off of that, I will say, while it's still a house, still obviously a very permanent structure, it does feel like it's a bit easier to separate because it's not nailed in. You can probably, if you do it with your hands or whatever. So I would kind of consider it impermanent. Like I said, this is a stretch. It was very hard to come up with stuff like this. I can see the idea of impermanence applying to some of the songs below, and I'll point them out. Please tell us your theories, and they'll definitely be better than mine.
Yeah, and then mine was just, like I said, the whole narrator theory of having this narrator who isn't reliable, who maybe bends the truth or is just giving their biased opinion on the situation at hand.
The much better one, yes.
Oh, stop. All right, want to get into it?
Yeah, let's go. So the first song, Last Great American Dynasty, beloved by few and not us.
Oh, no.
So this song had to be the first one because it's a house. It's a song about a house. Like, this is the most Saltbox house. I don't know, like from the pictures of Holiday House, it didn't look like a Saltbox house to me, but she does say the lyric, her Saltbox house on the coast. But like, I don't remember. Did that house look like a Saltbox house to you?
From what I saw, it didn't look like it.
I mean, it looked like a giant mansion. So, I mean, maybe it started out that way and they just added additions and additions and made it unrecognizably a Saltbox house. But yeah, like I said, it's about a house that's in New England. Saltbox is a New England style house. It has to be the first song, and it had to be in this chapter. It wasn't going to be in any of the other ones.
Yeah, and so my theory of it was, with this unreliable narrator, Taylor right away tweaks the facts on the song, bending the folklore. So she talks about, stealing a dog and dying at Key Lime Green. We talked about it before in the song breakdown. It was a cat that she dyed green. We don't know what kind of green. Just these little things that are true to an extent, but it's like bending the theory. So it's proving that she's not a reliable narrator in this sense.
I like that. Yeah. And also the song just goes, has the theme of like a woman that went quote unquote mad.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how can you really like listen to what she's saying or take it for face value when she's going crazy?
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Then we go to August. Love this song. I took this to my theory of like this song can be tied to the impermanent nature that I mentioned above. Like, clearly this song is about a fling that at the end didn't really mean anything to one person, one member of the party, which like goes into the August slipped away into a moment of time because you were never mine. You weren't mine to lose. Like these lyrics that like really hammer home the point that like this relationship was fleeting from the beginning. It didn't stay. And it was very easily moved. Like a
Yeah.
saltbox house may or may not be. Who knows?
Yeah. And
let's go to the good theory.
So my theory. So with this concept of August, we have the narrator being the mistress of the relationship, writing about the song. So she potentially didn't understand the true meaning of the affair. She was perhaps romanticizing it. She knows it was fleeting, but she's making it out to be this big grandiose thing that the other party could have just been like, no, it was never that deep.
Great.
Joe's stop relating.
So well, you put another. Oh, I put another lyric in there. Salt air and the rust on your door. This actually leads me to another theory that I just forgot to write about. So that's cool. But this makes me think, like, did James live in a saltbox house? Because, like, if you think about it, like, I think upstate New York is considered New England, right? Or could be. Going off of the premise that it is, that could mean that the love triangle took place in New England. That James, of all of the people, could have had a saltbox house, which could be a way that all of these things tie together. I'll talk about that more as we go down, but I think this lyric, "Salt air and the rust on your door," was the first one that kind of gave me that idea. And we'll go down when we do how they all tie together and see if that can do that.
Yeah, because I mean, they talk about the High Line a lot, but I don't really know where the High Line leads.
The High Line is it's in New York City specifically, and it's really cool. It's like just basically a walkway that's like raised above the city, but like a lot of greenery and a lot of like it's just a very nice walkway that looks really cool.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. So this next one, we have the one. So my theory on the one was that, well, there was not my theory, but I read about it, and I want to give credit. The one could be a potential alternate to Cardigan. So they talk about, the teenage love triangle, and we'll get into that when we do that episode. But the one is an alternate universe if James didn't show up to Betty's doorstep in Cardigan. Like she says, I knew you'd come back to me. Meanwhile, the one is, oh, if you wanted me, you really should have showed. So it's that kind of duality. But in the sense of the one being this unreliability that she doesn't know what could have happened, she's just imagining. And you have lyrics like, oh, I saw you at the bus stop, I didn't though. I had this dream, you're doing cool, like dreaming, and I thought I saw you, but I didn't. Like these kind of imagining what could have been in her head, but it's not fact.
Yeah, and like you say, like, we were something, don't you think so? Mm-hmm. Like all of those kinds of things of like, it would have been fun, like all of those kinds of things that like tie together to, like we said or like in another episode way before, that like all of these songs in theory could tie together and be related. It mm-hmm. doesn't just have to be the love triangle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's really cool. I didn't realize this until you said it. Yeah, that's an awesome theory. I love mm-hmm. that theory.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything for my dumb theory. So we move on to 7, and I found something again. 7. I can only tie this to the impermanence again. Childhood, for one, is a very impermanent time. Mm-hmm. That's just a whole thing. But the talk of also leaving forever, packing and going to India, all of that stuff. Pack your dolls and a sweater. We'll move to India forever. Pass down like folk songs, like these. I still can't get over. I don't know if I got to check that edit on Wikipedia and see if it happened after Folklore was released. But yeah, it's really interesting. I like that. This song feels really weird here, though. I do not like it on this record.
On this like version, or just
playlist,
the
entire... EP, whatever you wanna call it. Yeah. I think it's just, I think we were texting about it, and I was like, it feels like, okay, August flows really well into the one could flow very well into Peace, but we get like some kind of weird intermission where we're in Pennsylvania for some reason.
Yeah.
I would love to like hear a good theory as to why 7 is on this.
Exactly. And my theory with it kind of ties into yours a little bit, impermanence or just unreliability. Taylor's writing this years later, and you have this idea that time is impermanent, and time can blur facts over time about what actually happened, kind of like passing down like folk songs. It's, folklore changes. So you have a line like, and though I can't recall your face, I still got love for you. She doesn't remember what this person looks like, but they're still there.
Mm. You really like that line.
I do.
I do love that, like, we constantly are pulling up lyrics and everything in this, because we do get to see like what lyrics we really gravitate towards, because they're the ones that always come up when we do these things. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, on to the best song in the record. Peace.
Yes, so Peace.
You could tell after the 7, my theory ran out of juice.
All right, so I'll just kind of take it over from here then.
So you take over for this one.
So with Peace, there's a brief. Okay. Let's go from this one first. So if Taylor is the narrator of this song, it seems like she's impartial because she's fighting her own insecurities. Would it be enough if I could never give you peace? I never had the courage in my convictions as long as danger is near. It's just around the corner because it lives in me. No, I can never give you peace. And then she goes, but I'm a fire and I'll keep your brittle heart warm. So it's, her kind of going back and forth. This unreliable source.
Like a weird, like inner monologue kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That is Peace. And then on to Betty.
So we have this impartial narrator of James, who was the one who hurt Betty. They don't understand how she feels. I'm only 17. I don't know anything. Betty, oh, I know where it all went wrong. Like, yeah, sure. Like, do you?
I love that. I love the juxtaposition of that, of like him blatantly admitting that he doesn't know anything and then saying, but I do know where it all went wrong. And I know how I'm going to fix it by doing nothing.
By showing up at your doorstep.
But what's actually interesting here, too, is that the line that I won't shut up about, and I think you're starting to come around on a lot, is the line,
Betty, right now is the last time I can dream about what happens when I see your face again.
Yeah, and you I can't believe I forgot it immediately. That shows you where my head is.
Yeah.
But you like, it goes right back to dream. Like a narrator of thinking of like all of these different possibilities, and not knowing the right one, and finding the right one because it's going to happen. But it's like a I think that fits in with this one too.
Yeah. And that is it. That is the last song off of this chapter. So what comes next?
Where you pointed this out and I didn't even notice it. Where is Invisible String?
I don't know. Is it the invisible string tying them all together? Like you
If it is, that's a real bad explanation. Like sure, that's cute, but come on. You have 7 repeated twice, but you couldn't fit invisible string.
And if so, like, what is that? What's the implications of that? Like, is she going to release it as a single? Is she going to justify invisible string not being included? Is she going to announce that she's been married to Joe? I don't know.
It's weird because, like, I mean, it's escapism. It doesn't fit in. Obviously, Sleepless Nights, it doesn't fit in, but it does feel like I feel like Saltbox House is like, it's like your drunk drawer. Like that's this not that Invisible String is drunk, but it feels like if it's gonna go anywhere, it goes here, and I think it fits better than 7. Yeah. Like it has it's a folklore style song. I mean, not like the album, but like the actual concept of folklore. Like it feels like it should have gone on here. I better than 7. I can't get over why 7 is on this chapter.
Yeah. I don't know. I do not know.
So yes,
7 and Exile are the only 2 songs to be featured twice. Is there a reason behind that? I mean,
Exile makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we talked about the 2 perspectives. But 7, I guess it's just a general theme of 2 different things.
It seems so weird. I will say, and if we want to go into our theories about the ordering of the songs off the cuff. So the one thing that I think gets me, obviously we talked about it last Great American Dynasty. No other song could start this chapter. It just makes a lot of sense. And I think, like I said, I think August, the 1 flows really well into each other. because you have like this narrator that's like romanticizing this relationship that didn't mean anything, and then it flows right into a narrator that's saying, gosh, I wonder what would have been if you would have been the one. Like, so I think those two, they flow naturally together, and I think this chapter was a great excuse to get those songs next to each other.
Yeah.
But like then I said again, like it's weird because then 7 is just in there, and I can't think of a way to flow 1 to 7 or 7 to peace. Maybe peace can flow into like a child that's saying like, maybe I can try to give you, I don't know. But I think like the 1 flows into peace because like then you find the one and you're nervous about it because of why it didn't work in the past, maybe. And then you go to Betty, which is just, I mean, I think Betty or 7 could have closed this out. I think Betty and 7 switching would have been better, maybe.
Maybe, because the end of 7 is, passed down like folk songs, Our Love Lasts So Long. And that could have been a good closer. I'm looking at this order and I really don't get it. Because
it's so weird.
Like, I don't think it's telling a story. But at the same time, if it's not telling a story, why is it in this order?
So the only other thing I can think of, and like I said with August, James having a saltbox house. If we think about it, there's a saltbox house in Last Great American Dynasty, obviously. Mm-hmm. Salt Air and the Rust on Your Door, James living in a saltbox house. The 1 is just a continuation of that story, and she's talking about James again, so James and his saltbox house and the relationship there. 7, I mean, it says Pennsylvania, which isn't New England, but like she is like I'm trying to think of the right word, like the country style of Pennsylvania. So maybe there's a saltbox house around there, and like the children are growing up in a saltbox house. There's some house, I think there's a house related lyric in there, maybe. Or at least I'm thinking of like a closet, like just like kind of home style things, I guess.
Yeah.
Peace. I got nothing. Betty is just the story again. So like James coming from his saltbox house to come talk to Betty. Maybe she's in 1 too. I don't see anything to support that, but I'm grasping at straws here.
What if all of these kind of relate to the idea, and this is very late in the game, all of these kind of relate to the idea of home? Because Saltbox House, so like Last Great American Dynasty obviously is about a house. Yeah. August and the 1 kind of just talk about this could have been my home. 7, that home with a person and moving to India forever. Peace.
I'm a dangerous home. Like I'm a home that's built on faulty foundation.
Yeah, and Betty wanting to and James and Betty wanting to return to his home.
By Jove, I think you got it. I mean, that's as good as I think it can ever be.
The order doesn't make sense, but that's just like the theme potentially.
I mean, now I'm curious. I'm gonna try to pull this up. I just want to see the other chapters and if there's anything home in those. Like, This Is Me Trying, no. Mad Woman, no. Illicit Affairs, no. My Tears Ricochet. So I mean,
Ricochet could be home.
Exile could be. Tears Ricochet, yeah, because I can go anywhere, just not home.
Yeah.
And then Escapism, obviously there's the other one, but let me see what Escapism has. The Lakes, not home. 7, home. Epiphany, not home. Cardigan, maybe. Mirrorball, no. And then Exile, maybe. So, I mean, if that's it, that's a good one. I think that does, like, they all do, like, embody some form of a person being someone's home. And that does make sense then why 7's in there, because I think 7 does embody that a lot more than any of the other ones. Mm-hmm. Betty feels like, I mean, there are also like some settings in homes too, like Betty knocking on your doorstep. What is as we go into the close, I think that was a great point out, and I love when we don't have it written down and we stumble upon it. But what do you think is your favorite chapter?
Honestly, I don't. All of them have such great themes to it. Like, I love escapism. I love Sleepless Nights. My Tears Ricochet, Hoax, Illicit Affairs, This Is Me Trying, Exile. Saltbox House, August, Peace, Betty. Like, it's just, but to pick just one, maybe Escapism. Actually, no. In terms of cohesiveness, I think Escapism is my favorite chapter, but in terms of actual songs, I think Sleepless Nights.
I bet you can guess mine.
Saltbox House?
No, it's Sleepless Nights, 100%.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking through, and like, it's just weird. Like, Escapism I do really like, but Seven and Epiphany I don't care for.
And I do, so that's my thing.
I do love The Lakes. I love Cardigan. I love Exile. Mirrorball is really good too. But I think, for one, on just a song level, I like Exile, Hoax, Illicit Affairs, My Tears Ricochet. Like, I like them. It's actually so hard because, like, she does a great mix of, like, the best songs and then, like, the songs that I could leave.
Yep.
So, like, Saltbox House has Peace, it has Betty, it has August, it has The One. Those are all great. And then it has Seven and Last Great American Dynasty, which I could leave. And then Illicit Affairs, Hoax, Exile, all great. And then, like, I could leave a couple of the others. And then, like I said already, on Escapism. I love the concept of Sleepless Nights. I'm excited to experience it.
Already been.
Just passing the torch.
Yep.
No, I've always loved the concept of Sleepless Nights and, like, what it entails generally. So I think for me, that's probably my favorite. Song-wise, it might be Saltbox House just because, like, there are some really good hits on there. It's hard. I didn't even realize how hard this was when I asked this question.
Yeah. Now you know. Yeah. All right, Joe, take us home.
All right, so thanks for listening. Please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on if you haven't already. Go over to the Apple Store, leave us a review, rate us 5 stars. It really, really helps boost our visibility on the podcasting network. So if you really like us, please let us know, and please support us that way. If you have a friend that is really into Taylor Swift, let her know about us. I say her because I know where I'm at with my life.
We know our demographic.
We know our demographic.
All right. And yeah, follow us on social media, leave a comment, DM us, let us know what you think. We are at We Need to Calm Down Podcast, or on Twitter, WNTCD Podcast. We're also on YouTube. We just recently posted a bonus episode where me and Joe reacted to my 7th grade lip sync competition of lip syncing Forever and Always. It was a great time. Make sure to watch that. But yeah, just subscribe and let us know what you think. All right. Thank you again. Come back. We'll be here.